Well, a very good morning to you from JFK Airport here in New York. It's early in the morning, 5:30 a.m. This morning I am looking forward to flying down to Miami, and I'm flying with American Airlines today. The first time I've flown with American Airlines for a very long time. I'm flying on a Boeing 777-200ER, and I'm lucky enough to be flying in the first class cabin today to see how the service differs from other airlines I've flown on recently. I'm really glad you're coming with me. If you're ready, let's go. Welcome to JFK Terminal 8, where today I am taking the 2-hour and 44-minute flight down to Miami, Florida. So guys, as you know, I've been doing a lot of traveling recently with Delta, and I think the standard, particularly in first class, is a little bit lacking, to be honest, right now. So I'm looking forward to flying with American today and seeing, you know, what they're up to and how it differs to Delta. Should be interesting. This morning I'll be flying on this Boeing 777 aircraft, delivered brand new to American Airlines in November 2001. Okay guys, well, I'm settled into my seat 10A for the flight down to Miami. My first impressions of this seat are, I mean, it's very comfortable and spacious, there's no doubt about it, but it does look a little bit old and tired, I've got to be honest. I know that some of these 777-200s have been upgraded. This one doesn't seem to have been, and to be honest with you, my expectations were not high coming into this. But we'll give it a chance, let's see how the service goes. But the reason I say that the expectations weren't high is because I upgraded yesterday to first class. It was just $96 from JFK to Miami, which is the best part of 3 hours. So yeah, my expectations weren't terribly high there. So we'll see what happens though. I'm actually quite surprised to see that de-icing the wings this morning, or de-icing the aircraft, but somehow it didn't seem that cold this morning when I left the TWA hotel really early at 5:30, and it was cold, but it doesn't seem freezing or anything like that, so I'm surprised. But clearly it's needed, safety first. So unfortunately they are also getting a good amount of the window as well though, which means my taxi footage isn't going to be great, so I apologise for that in advance. Well, as usual at Kennedy Airport, we seem to be waiting a while to even start. We've pushed back, we've been de-iced, but we're still waiting what seems like a very long time just to taxi. That's the way it is here at this airport. But while we're waiting, I mean, I'll tell you a little bit of the first impression about the seats. I think you have to be a giant to be able to fit in these seats, quite frankly. If you're sat in the seat, your feet are not going to touch the footrest at the end of the footwell unless you're about 7 to 8 foot tall. I'm sure it's there so that when the seat converts into a flat bed, it's all nice and, you know, nice and level. But there's no way you can use that footrest. And when you put your head back into the seat, there doesn't seem to be any neck or the back or support for the back of your head at all. It just seems a weird kind of design. And again, the actual headrest is way above my head. I mean, I'm almost 6 foot. So again, I think you have to be a giant to really take advantage of this seat. So yeah, it's not particularly comfortable, to be perfectly honest, but when we get airboard I'll play around a little bit with the seat controls, and yeah, we'll see. Okay guys, so we're airborne on our way to Miami. Lovely smooth takeoff. So let's take you a little bit around the seat. I did show you already the footwell, which is way down there. Just above that we've got the oversized screen, which is really nice. That can stow away if you want it to. Then we have down here, we've got a little bit of storage, not much. You've got a tray table in here. And then up to your left you've got your seat controls, television controls over here as well. Actually the stowage, if you want it, is all the way up here, so that's pretty good, but as usual you can't stow anything in there on takeoff and landing, so you have to put that in the overhead bin. We do have USB power over here as well as mains power, and really that's it. I mean, you know, there's not much more to say about it, but again, I return to the point that it's spacious, it's clean, it's just a little bit outdated, that's all. But as I said, for $96 odd or whatever it is I paid to upgrade, you know, you really do get what you pay for. I wasn't expecting, you know, silver service and you know, a brand new suite, so to speak. But I fly a lot with Delta, as you know. I would say if I had to compare this, I would compare this with the Delta One seat that you get on the Airbuses, the Airbus A330s and the older 767s. All in all, I think the Delta experience is just a little bit more comfortable, a little bit brighter. And the one thing I will say is I've gotten used to the crew on Delta are always really, really pleasant. The crew on this flight are pleasant enough, but quite standoffish really. Nothing really, nothing to write home about really. But again, it's a domestic flight. It's going to be quick, 2 hours and 20 odd minutes I believe down to Miami, which is quicker than I thought it was going to be. I'm interested to see what the drink service will be. They've already said that they will be serving drinks. There's no mention of food. I have no expectations. It would be nice to get something. But again, travelling first class domestically in the US right now is not the premium experience that it was in the past, so my expectations there are low as well. Well, I've got the bed into a partial recline. It's really awkward because the controls are right up here by your neck, so you have to try and crank all the way around to do that. It's not a major inconvenience, but I'm surprised it's not a little bit lower. But now that I'd say I'm 3/4 of the way to a flat bed here, and now that I'm in that position, my feet can finally use the footrest at the end. But it's still not particularly comfortable on the neck, to be perfectly honest, and when I do try and sink my neck into the seat, I get very little lumbar support, so I know I'm really complaining here, but I think I'm just going a long way around to saying that I don't think this is a particularly comfortable seat. Well, my food has arrived, and I have to say that American have kind of redeemed themselves here, because this actually is not, considering the standard we're used to right now, this is actually pretty good. As you can see, I have an egg salad croissant, some fruit, some yogurt, a little bit of granola there, and I got my cup of coffee as well, all served nicely on a tray and tablecloth. So yeah, this is significantly better than what I would expect to get on domestic first with Delta right now, so this is a step in the right direction. This guy over here, who's obviously enjoying his flatbed, the interesting thing is he was in that position for takeoff, and the cabin crew just walked past, didn't say a word. I've never seen that. They're normally really strict about having your seat upright when you take off. I just thought it was funny. Good for him, that's what I say. Well, in summary then, I would say that this has been an interesting experience. I'm really glad to have flown American today, actually, because it does put things into perspective. If you're a regular visitor to my blog, you know I fly a lot with Delta, and I've been a little disappointed with the Delta service. And now that I've experienced the American first class service domestic this morning as well, I've come to realise that they're all much the same right now. They're all struggling with the same issues. They're all facing challenges from recovering from the huge loss of revenue from the pandemic. So these cuts in service and food and beverage are to be expected. It is disappointing, but it is to be expected. I think that aside, though, if I had to describe the first class experience with American this morning, I would summarise it in one word, which is grey. The cabin's grey, the seats are grey, the carpet's greyish and blue, all the appointments are grey. It's just very dull, and I think that sums it up really. I will say that I think my flight attendant that was looking after my section of the cabin actually was really pleasant. So I may have jumped the gun earlier when I said that the crew were a little standoffish. I think it was just very early in the morning and people were just getting started, but the service was good. But other than that, it's all a bit bland, just like any other domestic first class right now, I'm guessing. So I'm just going to stick to flying economy for the time being. It's way better value, or main cabin as they call it nowadays.
Gentlemen, we'd like to welcome you to Miami, where the local time is 11:04 p.m. It was a pleasure having you on board, and we'd be happy to see you again on another American Airlines flight. Flight attendants verified this storm door, stand by for all calls.
Well guys, that was my flight from JFK to Miami. It was a good flight. It was a little disappointing in some respects, but overall happy to fly with American Airlines again. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe. I will look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care. Your SDF Geek.